Welcome to the Property Management Mastermind Show with your host, Brad Larsen. Brad owns one of the fastest growing property management companies in San Antonio, Texas. This podcast is for property managers by property managers. You'll hear from industry-leading professionals on best practices, new ideas, success stories, and lessons learned. This is your opportunity to learn about the latest industry buzz surrounding property management, as well as tips and strategies to improve your business. Now here's your host, Brad Larsen.
Hello everyone, this is Brad Larsen, host of the Property Management Mastermind podcast. To see a complete list of the offers and discounts we have worked to provide, visit our website at propertymanagementmastermind.com. In there you will find additional discounts from Tenant Turner, Citizen Home Solutions, PMW websites, and several others. Also be sure to check out our Seminar and Conferences tab, where we highlight different conferences going around the country, business and property management related. Lastly, be sure to seek out the Facebook group we have started and become a member. In that group, the PM community at large, to include vendors, are welcome to join.
Hey everyone, this is Allison DeSaro with Seacoast Commerce Bank. You may have heard about us, or you may have even heard my podcast episode with Brad Larsen, where we discuss the benefits of banking with property management bank like Seacoast Commerce Bank. We specialize in providing the ideal banking partnership for not only your business, but specifically your trust accounts. In addition, we offer a significant analysis program, which allows us to not only offset your bank fees, but then also offset property management related invoices. You can visit us at our website, or you can call me directly at 619-988-6708.
This is Brad Larsen, and I endorse this message.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Property Management Mastermind episode. I'm your host, Brad Larsen, and in today's episode, we're going to be doing a monologue. We're going to be doing basically a Rush Limbaugh type style where you just get to listen to me talk. And so if you're not going to be too offended by that, I would sit back and listen to see kind of what we want to discuss here today. I think it'll be a good episode just because there's a lot of things I want to talk about. There's a lot of positive things out there. There's nothing going to be negative on this. We're going to talk about the good things going on in the property management industry to where I think you're going to be able to get something out of it, because I'm going to talk best practice techniques. I'm going to talk about frequently asked questions I get hit up with a lot. Hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? So it's going to be an opportunity to put some information out there. So the first thing I want to touch on is an introduction to RentWorks. RentWorks is the property management company that I have started in 2012 here in San Antonio, Texas. We've currently been experiencing about a 35% year-over-year growth. We now currently manage, and today is 9 March 2018, we manage 840 single-family homes. And that's accurate. And I want to say this one little caveat there. When we actually tell somebody that we manage a certain number of homes, we actually manage a certain number of homes. So I don't mix and match with properties, because if a property manager is going to tell you they manage X thousand properties, but yet you find out those properties are apartments and or homeowners association contracts, that's not really managing properties. And so if you want to dilute that number with whatever mix you want to call in there, we manage X number of properties from an HOA, we manage X number of units inside of one multifamily, that's fine. You can mix that and match that for your own sake. But I want to tell you that we manage that number of single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. We don't manage multifamily, and we don't count any HOA management inside of that number to try and look better than we are. So that's one thing about size I want to get off there. The other thing about size that I'd like to discuss is I don't think the size part of it, as far as the number count, door count, does not matter. It's a revenue count. And that's one of the things I think we should all get towards, is the magic number is profit per month, per door that you manage. That's the magic number we all want to get to eventually. And I think we're going to be able to get there with some good things coming down the way through NARPM and through some of the projects and campaigns that are going on right now to be able to get people to those metrics that really matter. The door count metric is just a gauge, because we've all heard of people managing X thousands of doors, and then if you ask them what their profitability is, it might be minimal, if any, if not nothing. And so that's one of those things that I think we need to basically rearrange the way we measure each other. And I've taken a couple notes from Scott Fritz and the way he does things with the 40-hour work year. One of the things that he talks about is having 6 or 7 key metrics that you're looking at all the time. And those are the key metrics for your company. And that could be anything that you really think feels important to include revenue that month, to include profit per door, per unit, per month, total revenue per unit, per door, per month, with maintenance or without maintenance. There's another discussion right there. On the maintenance side, let's go there real quick. So one of my feelings is, and one of the things we just recently did is we fell victim to the good idea theory a few years ago to where we broke out the maintenance company. So we have Rentworks LLC, and then we had the Rentworks Maintenance Company LLC. And at the end of the day, my new director of accounting, who is a certified director of QuickBooks, she's super knowledgeable about the keeping of good accounts, and she's been tremendous. She asked me, well, there's no overhead. There's no payments to staff. There's no payments to count towards your pens and pencils and your insurance and your desks and your rent and your utilities and all that stuff. There's nothing in that company. So it's not a real standalone company. So why you broke it out of the books doesn't really make any sense as far as an accounting standard. Okay, we can argue the liability sake. Sure. I mean, you're going to get the hate mail now that you broke out your maintenance company from your management company just for liability. Well, anybody's going to pierce that veil pretty darn quick, because if your maintenance team screws up, they're going to come after your management company, because that's where the real money is. The maintenance company that we all may have probably is not a super $1 million a year company. Of course, there are always going to be the exceptions. But on the maintenance side, just to kind of give you some background, I believe that when we like using the third-party vendor type system, and we also like getting preferred vendor discounts to be able to get us something off of that liability that we're carrying on behalf of everybody. Because the minute you send out a plumber that you called, you are acting as a general contractor, and there should be some sort of at least a little bit of a profit margin there to cover that liability, to cover that insurance, to cover that effort, and to be able to cover the basics of running a business. So if you're out there not charging for maintenance, kudos to you, you're racing to the bottom faster. If you are charging for maintenance, I think that's a wise thing, because again, everything falls upon your head at the end of the day. And I didn't mean to get into that little tangent on the maintenance side, but we want to talk about, I just want to give you a quick little introduction of who Rentworks was and some of the things that we're talking about. So why am I doing this? A couple things. I want to see the industry improve. I want to see the property management industry reach an improvement level, which is why I started doing the Property Management Mastermind show, to be able to bring on vendors, to bring on guests that can contribute to what we're doing as a whole. Because if my left and right peers look better and do better, it makes the entire industry look better and do better, which brings more property management owners over to our industry to get better penetration into that elusive figure that we've all heard. We've all heard that we're only getting maybe 30% penetration into the single family home property management, manage your home by owner realm. Only 30%. So if there's 1 million rental properties out there in one particular area, that means we're only going to get into them about 300,000 of those. And I think this is sad and low, because if you look at what happens in Australia, they're getting a 70 to 80% penetration rate. So if you have 1 million rental homes, they're getting 700 or 800,000 of those under professional property management, and it's reversed for us. So I'm hoping to make that trend go upwards. And I think the stock market and the players on the stock market with large money, they're starting to see the value in that, and they're starting to come this way to look and see what's going on in the property management industry, because that's a great industry to look at. Got recurring revenue, has no debtors, just a lot of good things to it. Recession proof, number one. And so the other reason I'm doing this is the Property Management Mastermind show, doing podcast episodes. Eventually, when we're all said and done, after 100 episodes, I'm going to write a book. And I think that's going to be a book that people will want to read that do this, and the people that are coming up behind us are going to want to read, because it will be the playbook on how to run a property management company, how to start one, how to grow one, how to run one, and how to sell one. And so it's going to be an end to the means there, and I think that's going to be a good thing at the end of the day. Also, it keeps Rentworks in a loop of new ideas. So as I have my radar up looking at things at conferences and hearing about new ideas, it helps me keep on top of the game out there by interviewing some of the key players as new vendors, seeing some of the new technology that's coming up, and waiting for the next big disruptor that's going to change the way we do things. And it just kind of forces me to stay in that loop, because it'd be real easy to go play golf 2-3 times a week and be out of that loop. Once you get to a point where you can build the company up and it can run itself, that's the end result. And sometimes, as we say, we get bored and want to do different things. I wouldn't say I got bored and wanted to start a podcast show. I just thought it'd be kind of neat to get into the new technology, and it's a great way to put out good content for our websites, which builds SEO value. And so at the Broker Owner Conference here coming up this year, I'm going to be doing a speech on podcasting, just what I'm doing right now. And so if you all know me about doing speeches, it's going to be a lot of red meat. I'm going to give you the who, what, where, when, why, the 5 W's, the facts, and here's how you do it. And it's going to be, at least if you're interested at all, it's going to be productive. I'm not going to stand on stage and pound my chest and say, you can be the best you can be if you do this. And then we'll start walking on hot coals with bare feet. We're not going to do any of that. Just get it out there, and you guys decide if it's ever going to be something you want to do or not. But it is going to be kind of an interesting thing, because a tidbit I heard at a conference just the other last month at the PM Growth Summit was podcasting is essentially going to be the new radio. And right now we're at the Mississippi River, 1840, looking west as far as a digital technology space. There's not going to be much more created, because where I'm trying to make a valid point is what I'm doing today, or what you could be doing today if you decided to get into podcasting, will be much more difficult to do 2 or 3 or 4 years from now. I've seen the competition come along just in the property management podcasting space just in the last year. And I've been doing this for just over a year now. So it's an interesting deal, and you're going to learn more about that at the Broker Owner Conference. A couple things here. So do I have to worry about giving this away to competitors? And I've kind of come to the conclusion that most competitors to my left and right, the peers, they're not the kind of folks that were going to implement things they hear. So you could tell them on a silver platter, here's how you make money, here's how you do things, but they just won't implement the good ideas because they get too lost in the weeds of doing their day-to-day business. And they feel like they make enough money, they feel like they do enough good things, they're just not that interested in trying to do something great and spectacular and new. So am I worried about my competitors? No, not really. If they want to do competitive things that keep in line with what we're doing, more kudos to them. In fact, I've had seminars here in my office where I've called all the good local NARPM players, National Association of Residential Property Managers, I've called all the local good property management companies into my office and given kind of a local, here's what we're doing seminar, here are the local averages, here's what's going on, here's are some of the common fees or charges that I see being advertised on the multiple listing service, just kind of a compilation, and then talk about good idea techniques such as using lockboxes, such as different types of insurance, who's a good attorney, who's not a good attorney. So I'm very happy to share with our competitors, because at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat, and if everybody looks better, it makes the entire industry look better as a whole. So I hope you can understand that. All right, I'm going to talk about some hot topics that are going to be kind of, people are asking me all the time about this stuff, so I'm going to get into hot topics. So first thing is we have 8 full-time team members in Mexico. You may want to call them as virtual assistants. I don't really like that term for them, because I call them team members because they really are part of the team. They speak English very well. They're located in Mexico. We pay them via a certain pay system that we all know of. And the pay system that they get paid is naturally going to be a little bit less than what we would pay somebody here. I don't want to get into the math of it, but let's just say it's a very financially rewarding, and for them as well, because what we pay them is fantastic for where they are. And that's just relative. It's just kind of where you are. So the team member concept, I like it because they get on their phones, they handle our emails, they do all kinds of different things. So we have 2 people handling our frontline phones. We have 2 people doing maintenance. We have 2 team members doing inside sales. We have 1 team member doing nothing but tenant turner and handling those unaccompanied vacant lockbox showings. Then I have another team member doing all of our website projects and all the IT stuff in the background. That's going to be a lot of work. So they're very loyal. I'm very happy with them. The first 2 I hired, I got through Jeremy and Gwen Aspen out of Omaha. And now Gwen's going to be coming on the show in a month or 2. She's going to be talking about what they do in helping people hire full-time team members in Mexico. They're establishing an office now in Mexico. They're going to be a legitimate, real vendor business in Mexico, paying Mexican taxes and all that good stuff. And so once they have all that set up, she's going to come share what she does on our podcast show and talk about how it works. And so I'm excited to have her on maybe in a month or 2, but she's just not quite ready yet. And I've been bugging her about it, and she's doing all she can to be ready. But once she is ready, she's going to share with you how you can actually work with her in hiring full-time team members, because they're not just virtual assistants, as I mentioned. A virtual assistant is somebody you never talk to. They don't get on the phone. They only email. They only do things for you in the background. They don't have a face. Our team members all have bios on our website. They have pictures on our website. And if you called into my frontline phones, you're going to talk to either Erica or Marco, and you'll be impressed with them, because they really are sharp folks. All of them are very, very sharp down there. And we're super happy to have them, because they're also in Central Time Zone, and they work hours that we want to work. It's just a great system that we've been able to implement. So that's one of the greatest and best hot topics I can bring up. Now, the other things I want to talk about is Facebook marketing and some of the tactics that we use with our inside sales agents who are in Mexico in generating business. So for a long time, Facebook, just like everybody else, I got on Facebook, and, we do all the profiles, and everybody's my friend. And I had 800 some friends, and probably 20 of them I've ever shaken hands with. So I kind of got real tired of Facebook a few years ago, and I just swore off of it. I just deleted my account and got off of Facebook. It was just a time suck beyond belief, because I couldn't see the value in it. I didn't see the value, and I don't give a crap what you ate for dinner. Okay. No offense. I don't care that you're on vacation, because that whole concept of FOMO is coming up, fear of missing out. Or you get upset that, wow, they're on vacation, they're trying to show me up. Well, F them. I don't really like that, because they're trying to show me up. Or they're on vacation. Oh man, I wish I was there. It looks so cool. You're so lucky to go on vacation. There's certain things about that I just don't really care for. So I got off of Facebook. And then a few years later, we started to see there's some trending going on with businesses using Facebook successfully to actually generate business. And so Facebook is getting very aggressive right now. They created Facebook Marketplace. They've gotten all these groups and pages down to a science pretty much. So the Facebook Marketplace is actually intentionally trying to create a platform to compete with Craigslist. They're trying to put Craigslist out of business. Now, they haven't allowed for corporations just yet, because one of the inside tactics there is you would love to be able to create an account and put all your homes onto Facebook, right? But they find out that you're a corporation or any sort of like a for hire profit business entity, they're going to shut your account down. And so what we've had to do is go underground a little bit and bump around accounts, but eventually Facebook's going to open it up to corporations to where we can go in there and actually advertise as Rentworks LLC and full disclosure and all that good stuff. But really where the rubber meets the road is advertising other things, like our $555 referral fee. So we pay a referral fee to referring agents that bring us property management business. We pay them a $555 one-time referral fee, and they have a return policy guarantee. So when that person that they refer to us signs up for property management, we manage their home for a year, 2 years, 10 years. That person decides to sell, it goes back to that agent, no matter where that agent is. As long as they're still in business, it's going to go back to them somewhere. And that's our return client guarantee. So where I'm going with that is we advertise those types of things. And then you can do Facebook boosting, targeted boosting of whatever you want. If you want to boost stupid cat videos, you can go in there and do that. If you want to take something of relevance, like that $555 referral fee, you can boost it. And it's just amazing what you can do, because you can literally narrow down the funnel to just people that are aged 40 and over in X number of San Antonio zip codes and are members of Realtor.com or Sabor.com, San Antonio Board of Realtors. My point is you can narrow it down to pretty much targeting the specific people that need to see it. So the 12-year-olds are on a Facebook page, they're not going to see your ad. And then you can keep reboosting that. And that's just a super duper way to generate business, which we have done. Also, inside of our inside sales agents, they're going on and actively contacting the for rent by owners off of Facebook, the for rent by owners off of Zillow and Trulia and Craigslist, and they're actively calling them to generate more leads, generate more appointments for us. So the inside sales team that we have inside our Mexico team members, that's been phenomenal in generating business, and a big part of it is through Facebook. And so that's been one of the hot topics of the day. A lot of people have always asked certain ways to use Facebook. One of the other techniques is, hiring new staff members. So if you're ever going to hire, create a nice little Facebook ad and throw it out there on your company page, share it with all your friends, make your employees post it on their page and share it with all their friends, because at the end of the day, they should have some say on who they work with. And that's a good technique to actually get them involved, get some buy-in from your team, is have them share that stuff on Facebook for you. And so one of the other hot topics I'm going to touch on are, I've seen this technology a while back. I thought it was cool, but very expensive. But I'm seeing the real value of it now, and it's the Matterport 3D tour. So Matterport.com, and it's a camera that sits on top of a tripod. It's probably double the size of an iPad. And what it does, it sits on a tripod and it spins in 360 degrees and captures 4K images of a room. So you get room and room and room, and you go to each room and capture an image. And then their software puts it all together and creates a dollhouse effect and a 3D tour. Okay, great, right? 3D tours are awesome. Here's what it does, and here's why I'm so interested in it and why we've just recently bought the camera, is because it will double or triple time on site. What does that mean? It means instead of somebody popping into your website and looking at 8 or 10 pictures of a home that you're advertising, maybe watching 1 or 2 minutes of a video you put on YouTube, they're going to spend literally double or triple the time searching through that Matterport 3D tour at that home that you have advertised, which gives you double or triple the time on site, which means Google thinks you're more relevant than anybody else, which means you're going to rank higher in the search engines. And those who rank highest in search engines win. That's the bottom line. Because what happens is search engine optimization equals leads, leads equal appointments, appointments equal signups, signups equal rents, rents equal business, business equals profit. It's A to Z. And so SEO is going to be king on everything. And who's ever said SEO is not king doesn't run a management company. So there's people out there that are saying it doesn't matter, SEO is not a big deal. BS. They're not doing what we're doing, and they're trying to sell you something. So don't believe the hype out there if you hear that type of thing. Because I'm going to tell you right now, SEO is king. He who sits on top of the search engine wins. Duh. All right, moving on. Let's talk about hiring business development managers and employees. So I had a long conversation yesterday with a good friend of mine up in Colorado. He's a property manager, and he's wanting to hire a business development person. He's right about 150 single-family homes, and then he has 200 around multifamily units that he manages. And rightfully so, I give him credit for actually breaking those out. He doesn't run around saying, we manage 400 properties, and he really manages 150 single-family homes and 4 or 5 apartment complexes. Okay, so kudos to him for at least delineating that and understanding that it doesn't make himself look better to lie about his property count like others out there. So hiring business development managers. This is a long tried out tradition from Australia that they brought over to the Americas. I mean, it's maybe nothing new, but they perfected it as far as a property management realm. A business development manager or a business development officer is going to be the person that's going to go out and basically get you new property management agreements. Okay. How you make it rain for them is really going to be up to you. It's going to be up to them. How well you can generate the leads to come in. That's going to be the difficult part, is making it rain, as they say, to generate the leads. Because you can't just hire a business development manager and say, go get it. And they're starting from scratch, because you generate no leads, you have no website, you have no content, you have no Google placement. It's going to be very tough for them to get that done. So you got to be real weary on how you hire a business development person and have extreme focus on them. Ride them like Seabiscuit for the first 90 days, because you got to make sure they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. Make sure they follow up to your standards for what you're going to put together. I'd recommend a higher salary, 3/4 compensation in the salary side, to basically show a commitment to them, and then do some commissions on top of that. So for example, we were starting our business development personnel at around 36 to 40K per year. And then they would get X dollars per every sign up that they received. And the X dollars has to be kind of equivalent to your market. And there has to be some incentives there. And maybe you create 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 incentives. So if they sign up 20 in a month, they get a bigger bonus. If they sign up X number of bigger plans a month, they get a bigger bonus. If they sign up a multiple property owner, they get a bigger bonus. And so that's another thing I'm going to talk about. I'm going to make a note. Talk about the MPOs and how that's going to work. I think that's been one of the best things we've done. And I'll just throw it right out there right now in the hot topic. So because we're talking business development, we're talking salary, we're talking incentives, we can talk about how we found them next, but let's touch on what has really worked for us in the business development side. So we do a flat fee, 3-tiered pricing model. And if you want to be technical, we actually have 5 tiers. We have leasing only, silver, gold, platinum, and then multiple property owner. And all of this is on our website. So I'm not just shooting from the hip and making it up. And what's been hugely, hugely successful for us is advertising the multiple property owner plan. For those of you out there in San Antonio doing the It Depends pricing model, keep doing it. It's working great for you. Thumbs up. Just keep doing it. And that's a sarcastic thumbs up because we're stealing all their business and we love it. That's great, right? About 30% of last year's signups in 2017 and this year's signup for 2018 have been multiple property owners. And we advertise that on our website. I'm not going to get into the fees and all that stuff. You'll have to figure out what you want to do on your own. But the concept of advertising for a multiple property owner is gigantically intelligent because it's killing it for us. And here's the concept. You basically pick out what you can stand for anybody who has 4 units or more. If they have 4 units or more, they're going to get this particular plan. Then you advertise the heck out of that. When you do this, what you're going to find is more multiple property owners are going to call you. If they call you, you have an opportunity to negotiate and talk with them and actually earn the business. If they don't call you, you don't have that opportunity. And when an investor who has multiple units gets sick of their property manager because they suck and they start looking around, you want to be the person they first contact because you are advertising a multiple property owner plan. If you don't advertise it, don't worry about it. They're just going to call you and say, give me a quote. When that MPO calls you and says, give me a quote, you'll be able to say, well, yeah, everything's on our website right now. Oh, wow, that's why I'm calling you, number one. And number two, there is no negotiations because you can stick by your guns and say, look, we're giving away the farm with the MPO deal. I think it's a good deal. There's not much better that we can do for you. And they just pick it and run with it. So, I mean, I can describe more and more, but essentially you got to find a system for you as far as what you can charge, what you can give away, how it's going to work for you that's going to make those MPOs want to come to your site and leave their information for you to follow up. That's been wildly successful for us because we created our own plan, our own pricing model just for the owners of multiple property owners, of multiple property units or 4 or more. It also gives you a reason to go encourage those people that have 2 or 3 units to buy 1 or 2 more. So, hey, Mr. Owner, you've got 3 units under management with us. You know, if you buy 1 more, we're going to be able to reduce your management fees down to this. So are you ready to start looking? I can get you pre-qualified with a lender. Do you have cash? What do you want to do? So it gives you an actual reason to go out and seek out those MPOs. And so another cool thing I want to talk about, because they just keep popping in my head as I'm going, is the hot topics we want to discuss. One of the things that we're working on and have implemented now is the investor pocket listing. The investor pocket listing concept is real simple. We're trying to reduce the losses from sales. Because what happens when a primary resident owner leaves and we manage their home, they're not really in the mindset of being a long-term investor. They're more like a reluctant landlord. And the first opportunity they can get to sell to either free up their VA loan or just to get out from underneath that home, they're going to take it. And sometimes we get calls a lot to where there's a tenant in there for another year lease agreement. We're working on one right now where the lease agreement's not up till May of 2019, which is over 12 months, 14 months away. And so what we're going to do is we packaged that particular listing, we reduced our commissions, we reduced the retail listing price of that home, and we're going to put it out to select investors that have signed a letter of intent. The letter of intent from the investor says, we're going to buy this home, we're going to agree to a lower commission with our agent, we're going to agree to use RentWorks to manage the home for at least 12 months. And so if they sign that letter of intent, it's just a 1-pager, we'll show them the full pro forma of that particular property. That property could go straight to them with a pro forma. They can like it, they can bring their agent or not bring their agent, and we can sell it to them in the efforts to keep the management. This is nothing new. There's some high-level folks out there that are doing this all the time, but I don't think a lot of us are doing this because we had roughly 60-some losses in the last 1.5 years, 2 years of homes that sold out of our inventory. And they sold to who? They sold to primary resident buyers off the multiple listing service at retail price. So what does that mean for us? Yeah, we got a one-time commission, big darn deal. I'd rather have the management agreement. I'd rather have that management agreement long-term. So I'd rather take that home and sell it to an investor. So our goal is to cut our losses in half. So let's say we lost 60 properties. If we can really make this program cook and hum, that means we could cut those losses down in half. Maybe that we only lose 30 properties, but we retained 30 properties because retention is growth. Retention is growth. Retention is growth. And so that's what we're really focusing on with the investor pocket listing campaign. That's a good hot topic to consider, along with multiple property owners, investor pocket listings. All right, and then we talked about the Matterport 3D tours. Circling back on that, the way we're doing it is we bought the camera. We're going to pay a young college lady to go out and do the Matterport 3D tours of high-end vacant properties. We're only using it for marketing. You can use it however you want. If you want to do move-out videos, if you want to do move-out inspections with it, great. Move-in inspections, great. You know, all that stuff, it's wide open. But we're only going to do marketing videos with it and make it exclusive to our upper listing, our platinum plan. And so the other plans can buy into it, of course, but it's really going to be focused for that high-end property, and it's going to look so good on our website and double the time on site for people looking at that particular home. I'm excited to see how it looks and turns out. There are a few property managers out there using the technology. I looked at their website, and they just had a great system, so I was very excited. That's not going to be for every single home. That's way too much work and too much expense, but it's going to be for the choice homes. And why not throw it in as a freebie, okay? To go on a small rant here, and this is a rant alert coming up, we have people out in our market that love to do the kitchen table discount. So there's a bunch of kitchen table discount property managers in my market that as soon as they find out that the owner is talking to RentWorks, they start slashing their prices, okay? Well, we don't ever change our pricing. We don't negotiate. We're not discounting. It's not a discount if you put it out there and never come off of that. Where the discounters come into play is they advertise a certain price, if they even do advertise it, but as soon as they find out that they're competing with somebody, they start slashing rates. Well, we'll go down to X%, or we'll go down to X fee, and we'll throw out this fee. Well, what we would potentially do is my business development staff has a leeway of $200 for every single particular owner that they're working with, that if they think they need to go and throw in a freebie to earn the business, this could be a freebie they could throw in. They could throw in a free Matterport 3D tour as an incentive to sign up on a platinum plan, for example. This can be implemented in 20 different ways, however you want to do it. But I think that's smarter than giving away the capital value of a discount. You think giving away X% is a small time giveaway, but you start doing that aggregate over 2, 3, 10 years, that's the dumbest thing you could do to earn the business. But hey, you know, if you got to do it, discounters out there in the market, feel free. We're still going to win in the end. All right, let's talk about hiring. And we were talking about hiring business development managers, salary incentives. And so what we've typically done is we go on the Craigslist, we put an ad there, we go into Indeed, and then what we end up doing is we drive those particular applicants into a SurveyMonkey questionnaire. Make those applicants fill out an application where it's a 15, 20 question application that they go into whatever SurveyMonkey or Google Forms or whatever you want to use, and make them answer a bunch of questions, make them write out why they think they're a good fit. And it gives you something to go by, because when you're looking at 20, 30, 50 applications all at once or resumes, it's kind of tough to narrow it down. And so when you do narrow it down, that's when the interview process is going to start. Now, I would recommend always interviewing by panel. And I really am a big fan of that. If I did interviews myself, that's a bad thing, because I'm too nice. I want to give everybody a chance. I want to say, yep, I could see you doing this position. I have confidence in you. I'm a positive person. I know you can go do this. You're hired. When do you want to start? I have that, streak in me that's either positive or negative, whatever you want to call it. I'm just telling you about it. So I think interviewing by panel is way smarter. And I try to get at least 3 to 5 to 6 people on my panel, all of our directors. So our director of leasing, maintenance, marketing, and our general manager are always going to be there in that particular interview. And if you don't have any women in the panel, find somebody. And make sure your spouses are there as well. I had this conversation yesterday with, again, that good friend in Colorado, and we were talking about the panel interviews. I think it's wise to always have a woman on the panel, because women have this weird sixth sense that they have a BS meter detector. They can just detect something that's wrong. I don't know what it is. They couldn't explain it to you, but I believe in it. And I think women have a gift that way, that they can just kind of see something that men can't. And that will give you a good way to interview. And I also think include your spouse. So that way your spouse is bought into it, especially in a property management company system where you're living in, let's say, anywhere where it's a community estate. You're going to want to have your spouse buy in, because guess what? guys and gals, they own half the business. So you're going to want them to buy into this particular hire. And so bring them in on the panel interview. If they trust you to do everything right, it's all fine and dandy, that's great, but it doesn't hurt. So interview by panel. And then what I typically do after the interview is I kick them out. I say, great, thanks for coming in for the interview. I want you to email me why you think you'd be a good position or why you think you'd be a good fit for this position, because I want to see how they write. I don't care what they write. I say, tell me about your life story. Tell me about the day you had at the beach. I mean, all the stuff that you can just throw out there. You just want to see how they write via email. And sure, they can fudge that if they really want to, but written communication is pretty key in most of the positions that we hire for. So we want to see how well they write. Now, if you're interviewing a wrench turner, okay, this doesn't apply. Then you want to potentially call them in for a second interview with the panel. And if all looks good, you can slide the offer across the table and say, we want to potentially make you a written offer to come work with us, go from there in hiring. The other thing we did, I would recommend, is we went to some high-level HR attorneys here in the region and had a total revamp of what we do. We revamped our policies and procedures with the HR attorneys, revamped all of our hiring letters, our hiring forms, had everything done by their standards so they can defend us if we got into some sort of sticky situation with an employee that wanted to sue you for whatever. Make up the worst case scenario in your head. These HR attorneys have seen pretty much everything, and they can advise us and recommend what to do. So it cost $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, but I think it was well worth it because we got a lot of good information out of them and actual tangible things to use, such as the updated policies and procedures manual, which every new hire and current hire has signed off on, to include all the stuff you'd want in there: non-disparagement clauses, right to work clauses. I mean, everything you can think of in the HR side that makes you want to go to sleep, they put in there, and it's there for every employee. So it really is it's a safety measure that I think every business should get into eventually. The program's off the shelf, they're okay, but why I went to an attorney, HR specialist attorneys, is they can defend it if something goes wrong. So they wrote it, they approved it, we bought off on it, and if something goes south, we can go back to them, and they're going to defend why that reads as why it reads in court if it ever gets to that point. And it may never get to that point, but now I sleep better at night doing that. Okay, so we talked about the hiring stuff. Let's talk about another fun topic called leasing. There's always going to be some debate out there what to do with leasing. Do you want to lease to first in? Do you want to lease to best qualified? What's your rental screening? What's your screening calls? I mean, all this stuff is going on. Let's talk specifics here. So we rent to best qualified. And if that's going to cause a storm and I get a bunch of hate mail, that's fine, because that's how we roll. And our processes have been vindicated and approved through the Texas Workforce Commission, which is basically the Fair Housing Commission, because we've had complaints because somebody wanted to make a complaint that we discriminated against them because we didn't approve them. And they went through the entire process. It was a full audit from the state, and we were vindicated as being fine renting to the best qualified applicant. It just is common sense to me. So the first in the door model, let's talk through that. Somebody applies, they're first in the door, and they walk into your office. Here's my application. Here's my security deposit. And that property management company takes the home off the market. So the person just walked in with who knows what credit, who knows what job, gave you a money order, and you took the home off the market for them. And so the next person in the door behind them 5 minutes later with an 800 credit score, who's a doctor and he makes a ton of money, you have to send away because, oh, I'm sorry, I just leased out that home to that clown that just walked past you who could barely start his car because it was worth $1,000 car. You see where I'm going with this? I hope so, because I think it's better to rent to the best qualified, because you're best representing the owners you manage for is to get the best qualified applicant. You wouldn't sell the home to the first person who wrote an offer. You would sell the home to the best qualified person. Even if the numbers were the same, I would take the cash deal over the finance deal if the sales price were the same, because obviously they're better qualified. And how is this any different? It's not. It's the same. So what do we do for rental screening? Let's talk through that. Rental screening, we use Rent Screener, which is a PMW product. And I really, really like it because it ties in TransUnion. It goes on their own credit reporting score. It's not an actual true FICO score. It's a hybrid of that FICO score that takes into account their rental history. So it gives you an actual little bit better of a scoring system. And we really like that system because that ties into what we do with our leasing, which I'm a huge fan of doing leasing to where the tenants never have to come to the office. If you were a tenant, you'd never want to go to the office. If you were going to rent a VRBO or an Airbnb, you'd never want to go to some office to pick up keys. You want to apply online. You want to see a lease agreement via email. You want to sign the lease agreement via DocuSign, and you want to do a lockbox move-in. In the mix there, you're going to have money. Well, okay, there's several methods. You can do security deposit via wire. All of our software that we use do some sort of a method where you can do ACH system. So depending on the time frame of this lease agreement, you could do an ACH through basically any software. If you want to hurry up and giddy up and get this thing done in 24 hours, have them wire the funds. I mean, I can't imagine why anybody would want to drive across town in San Antonio traffic to save $15 to bring us a security deposit check. It baffles me when they could call their bank, spend $15 or $20 and have a wire sent to us the same day. So that's just me. The leasing has come down to a science with us to where nobody has to come to the office to lease one of our homes. Also, the tenant turner system has been working great for us with the unaccompanied vacant home showings. So what that does is it allows us to show properties faster, rent them quicker, and right now we're renting just about roughly 1/3 to 1/4 of the homes that we lease out have done from unaccompanied vacant home showings to where they never had to deal with an agent to wait for them to show them the home. And that's a real irritation point, because imagine if you're out, looking at properties either online or via driving around and you find a property you like and you want to go rent it. What's it going to take you to get in there? Well, you're not going to be able to reach somebody necessarily here at pretty much any property management office to go rush across town in traffic to show somebody a property. It's just not going to happen because we're all too busy. We all have too much going on. And if you know what the travel time is, it could be an hour, hour and 15 there, hour and 15 back for one showing. And so it just doesn't make any feasible sense any longer. Where the unaccompanied vacant home showing technique has been hugely popular. We're big fans of it. We'd recommend it to anybody. And what this is going to happen is it gives your tenants a better service. So contact Tenant Turner, let them walk you through that. They partnered with CodeBox, and that system has been working great for us. All right, let's talk about structure. A lot of debate has been going around right now about structuring your business. I have seen all kinds of things work, and I'm going to give you the bottom line up front from several people who has way more experience than any of us listening. Is it doesn't matter which method or which structure you use. It only matters that you delight your clients. And so you can use a hybrid model, a portfolio model, a departmental model, whatever model suits you best. Just get it done. And it's ever changing. Understand that. It's never going to be one way, and that way is going to carry you for 50 years. Because as you add and subtract homes, that's going to change. As you add and subtract key personnel, that's going to change. So you just have to kind of find the system that works the best and pay attention. Key metrics, key performance indicators will all tell you how your service levels are going to be. And one of the key performance indicators is always going to be a NPS score, Net Promoter Score. So that's a fun topic to talk about. The Net Promoter Score is going to tell you if your structure is working or not working. The Net Promoter Score that is running around, basically just go do a Google search for NPS, Net Promoter Score. You'll learn all about it. And to get a Net Promoter Score is the actually only way to quantify service levels that I know of. I mean, unless somebody comes up with something different, I'm all ears, but it's a way to actually quantify service levels. And so, for example, on an NPS score, I'm going to give you real one deep dive example. Every work order that is completed with our system, and using Property Meld, by the way, I really like that. I don't have time to go into it now because we're running, close to about 40 some minutes, but Property Meld is a cool feature that I think everybody should look into. NPS score. Once a work order is completed, one of our team members in Mexico will physically pick up a phone and call the tenant. Crazy, isn't it? I know. So they call the tenant and they reach the tenant that the work order was just completed on, and they say, was everything completed correctly? How was your experience with us? How would you rate our experience? The NPS score questions, whatever you decide you want to ask. And then that's all recorded inside of SurveyMonkey. It's all recorded there because that's where you get the best metrics from. So if you want to look at metrics and analytics SurveyMonkey is a great way to actually get the data in charts and screens and methods and all these other cool things that you can look at and then track that NPS score. The phone call is super powerful because if they reach the tenant, that's great. They reach the tenant knows you care. If they left a voicemail, that's great. The tenant at least knows you care to call them, and a voicemail can be left. Inside that voicemail, maybe you want to direct them to an email, and then you can follow up via email saying, we're sorry we missed you via voicemail. Here's an email follow-up. Don't do emails only. Emails are white noise. 10 to 15% of emails only get opened. Surveys through emails are just a low recording rate. We're getting 60, 70, 75% hit on phone calls. So that's going to make a more legitimate NPS score. And one of the things I heard the other day, and it kind of rings true, and maybe you can debate it in your own head, is when somebody's calling you and they get you on the phone, are you going to really say something bad to them over the phone? Yeah, Brad, thanks for calling, but you guys suck. Are they really going to say that, or are they going to say something more to the effect of, yeah, it was okay, we're not super happy, but, it's okay. We know how people get internet muscles. We know how people get into the email systems and they just fire away these awful, god-awful emails that sounds like they want to eat your children. But then you get them on the phone, oh, and they're just the sweetest thing ever. They really want to help, and I'm so glad you called me on the phone. Even though I just sent you a hate gram via email, I'm so glad I can talk to you via phone. We've all knows that type. So I think it's better to get them on the phone. Even a voicemail is going to be hugely powerful in expressing goodwill. So software providers, another good topic. I think they all serve a purpose. Currently we use Appfolio. We have used Propertyware in the past, had a difficult time with accounting with them. It does work for a lot of the peers that I talk with. There's Propertyware, Appfolio, Buildium, Yardi, Rent Manager. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but those 4, 5, 6 key players are out there right now, and I think they all do a pretty good job. I really like the players that have an open API. I really don't like it when they close off their system. I don't like it when they say that they own their own data, but I don't want to get into a podcast now about software. I think they all equally do their job. There's pros and cons to each software, and it depends at which level you get at. The only frustrating thing and really thing that I just can't stand is it takes forever to switch, and it's expensive. And so it's kind of like once they get you in, they got you for life, because we've had inklings of switching to other providers, and we look at it and it could cost us 10 grand to do it. And at what point is it ever going to make us more money? Question mark. Answer, never. And so it's a big headache drill to go through for what? So we end up kind of, where we are. There hopefully are some new providers on the horizon coming out. I don't really want to name names too soon, but I know there's some new software providers that are going to be able to bring something to this space that can give us kind of all what we want, which would be a working platform, meaning that a workflow platform like a SharePoint, for example. If anybody uses Lead Simple out there, they have a tremendous, awesome workflow platform. So when you get up in the morning and you pop in Lead Simple, there's 1 through 20 of tasks that you have to complete that day. Nothing like that in any of the other softwares I've been seeing. So I'm hoping that comes more prevalent as we get going. And I could be ignorant about the subject. I don't know everything about every software. So if there's somebody listening out there and then they're going to send me hate mail, I understand. But I don't know everything about all the softwares. I'm just anxious to see what new players come out, because this industry is getting more and more recognition as a viable industry, and more software money is coming this way. Okay, so one of the things I want to talk about here is one of my campaigns I'm on with NARPM is to create a NARPM accounting standard. And so what this means is I'm working with NARPM, we're working with a committee. Our intentions are to create a standard accounting platform across all the entire property management industry. And the platform means GL accounts, definitions, terms, rules for using GL accounts, and essentially a way to account to where we can all get on the same page. We're all looking at the same thing. Now, it's a lot easier said than done, because it's not as easy as it sounds. So we're looking for buy-in from big major players like Intuit, who run QuickBooks. We're looking for assistance potentially from some of the software vendors. But if this program is successful through NARPM, NARPM will bless off on this, and it's going to change the way we do things in the PM industry. I'm very excited to be part of that campaign. I'm hoping NARPM members and NARPM board members see the value in this, and they cut us off a good-sized budget to ensure that we get this done. This will change how we track and what we do. For example, the National Home Builders Association have their own standard accounting systems, their own standard chart of accounts, their own standard reporting definitions, etc., because they have to report to the feds. And the feds look at everything they do because that influences policy, interest rates, laws, local things, water rights. I mean, it influences everything out there, and they have to do that in their industry. We should be that detailed. Real Trends does that stuff for the single-family home industry at a high level, but this is meant to be more for, one, tracking everything in the business, not just the profit and loss accounts. It's going to be also for the owners, how you classify and manage owners and tenants. So it's going to be across the board accounting in basically a pamphlet. And a pamphlet could be easily adopted. You could put yourself under the NARPM standard with very minimal effort. And so now this makes reporting that much easier. So for example, the end result was at the PM Growth Summit recently, Daniel Craig and Jordan Mila, they took on the task of trying to collect data from 50 different companies. And it was a monumental task. Tony Dross did this in 2014, and he did it as best as he could because he was overwhelmed, and it turned out to be a darn good presentation. I give him a lot of kudos for that. So Jordan and Daniel, who I just mentioned before, took a lot of this data from 50 companies, and it took them 1,000 hours, 1,000 man hours to put it together to mean something. But they only were able to collect data from 50 companies because everybody was speaking a different language, right? Think of that. You want to go into a grocery store and buy 50 things, but you have to speak 50 different languages to buy one thing. It's impossible. So what's going to happen is if we can get everybody on the NARPM standard, and I'm calling it the NARPM standard, we don't even know what it's going to be called yet, but I'm working through NARPM to create a property management industry accounting standard. Whatever you want to call it is irrelevant. But if we can get everybody on one page, one language, instead of 50 property management companies giving data, we could get 500,000. And I know that's being facetious because there's only about 200,000 property managers, but let's say we get everybody that's on the NARPM standard into this data pool, growing every year to give us the kind of nationwide metrics that actually mean something to influence your business. And you can go borrow money against it, because if you want to buy or acquire a business, you're going to be in the NARPM standard. You can easily illustrate to a bank what you need to borrow. And if you want to go sell your business, you're in the NARPM standard, so you can easily sell your business. There's so many different benefits to this. I could spend a whole episode talking about it, but I just want to touch on it now. NARPM's been very awesome to work with. Gail and the crew on the committee, I've been very excited to work with them. Kudos to NARPM for at least giving us the opportunity to work together to try and make this happen. It's going to be industry changing. I'm excited to be a part of it. Okay, a couple of other things let's talk about is I have a management company called RentWorks over here, other hand. RentWorks Management Company is a property management company. I've recently teamed up with eXp Realty as SaleWorks, powered by eXp. So RentWorks is our property management company. SaleWorks is our sales division. SaleWorks, powered by eXp Realty. And that's been one of the game changers. Just recently, Jordan Muela with Lead Simple did a podcast on one of his shows with a gentleman who was talking all about eXp Realty and how it related to Keller Williams. And so a lot of us are coming into this industry with real estate experience from some sort of brokerage, wherever market they are. eXp Realty is going to be the next biggest thing. Actually, it is the biggest thing going. It's reaching terminal velocity at this point to where it's just going viral. It's expanding like crazy, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about it. And I would encourage anybody, if you're interested, reach out to me and I'll tell you all about it and why we did it, and I'll show you how we did it. We separated the management business, we separated eXp, and so now you can actually go in and do business under eXp, and actually there's so many benefits to it. I actually did a podcast on this with Scott Lewis a few months ago, so that's out there. But I wanted to give kudos to Jordan for doing that podcast with that gentleman. I forget his name, I think it was Michael. And he was super excited to be talking about it as the next game-changing event that's out there in the real estate industry. So keep a look for that. So let's talk about insurance right now. Lots to go over with insurance. I mean, we could spend a whole episode talking about it. I might not be even able to get into it because there's so much to go into, but Insurance as a whole, a couple of recommendations immediately for anybody is work and get a tenant liability insurance system into your leasing. Work to get some sort of master policy if you can for your landlords. That's going to be a very good game-changing event. And maybe even look to get some sort of master policy for your tenants where you can provide landlord insurance and renters insurance at the same time. That's going to be the new trend. Also, you're going to be seeing gentlemen from NPM, National Property Management, who I'm no longer a part of. Full disclosure, I helped them I don't want to say, I helped them start the business. I was a part of the business for a year and a half. And I just wanted to focus on the management company and not really the insurance game. So we all parted ways, friends, and it's all is good. But they're coming out with a landlord insurance product that's going to be potentially industry changing as well. They're bringing it over from Australia, and I'm excited to see what they can come up with. So I don't have any more details on that as far as the insurance game, but those are some of the hottest trends I'm seeing out there. So just kind of keep your ears open for that. Now, the other thing that's going to be kind of a trendy deal, it's going to be becoming more and more prevalent, are syndications. Grant Cardone is the guy out there beating his chest on syndications for multifamily. Well, I think that's going to be bleeding into single family space to include, duplexes and triplexes, that type of stuff, where whole communities are going to start popping up. It's already happening in Phoenix. I was talking to Tim Melton yesterday, who manages SGI Property Management in Phoenix, great company. And what they were doing is they're seeing a 153 unit complex pop up to where it's only duplexes and it's only triplexes, and they're really built out super nice. And there's some single families mixed in there, but they're like small single family duplex, small single family duplex, 153 units in an entire development, and it's all rental properties. So that's a great alternative to apartment complexes. More and more people are going to be doing that. And the way they did it is a syndication. So what is a syndication? It's essentially where, let's say it costs somebody $100 million to build that complex. That's probably high. Let's say $10 million. And so you go out and find 10 investors that give you $1 million each. And in that syndication, those people are basically co-investors. And there's a lot of good seminars out there that are teaching this. I know several players already who've done 2 or 3 already in Oklahoma. So the syndications into the single family home space is the next biggest thing coming, because right now in the single family home space, there is not enough low or entry level housing. Every home builder out there wants to build the mid to high level home because that's where the margins are. So they're not doing very many first home buyer developments. And it's leaving the market kind of wide open for this, where syndications can be started and built up in either single family homes for sale or basically built them up to our single family homes for rent. And that's going to be prevalent throughout. I think you're going to see more and more syndications come up. All right, so lastly, I'm going to talk about our expansion into Austin. So let the cat out of the bag. So we have decided to move to Austin as far as expansion. We're growing organically from scratch. We currently have the net cast very well here in San Antonio with 825 homes. We expect to be over 1,100 by the end of this year in 2018. And so the net is cast, as I mentioned. So we're expanding into Austin one at a time. We're basically setting up a whole new business from scratch. Now, the expansion side is another good topic, because here's a good technique I picked up from GK Houses, is when they were expanding into a new market, because I think they went into Nashville, for example, or Birmingham, or one of those others, I forget, and they're great guys over there. So what they did is they wanted to expand and went out and bought a management company on the ground in that new market already in place. Bought the management company, and then they deployed one of their trained up staff members there with co-ownership to take over that particular entity. But yet they still run most of the operations out of their mothership. And so that's what you're going to see more and more of, is expansion like this, to where the mothership is going to be here in San Antonio. Our boots on the ground are going to be there in Austin. We're going to have several people, business development. We're going to have several agents that are going to be doing stuff there on the ground all the time. Have all your vendors, have all your inspection sources, have all your attorneys, have everything ready there on the ground. But the phone calls are going to be coming here to San Antonio with our portfolio managers running the show from here in the San Antonio area. So this is going to be more and more prevalent. I know lots of key players in the industry that are doing this now, where they manage from a mothership in certain markets and different markets. And we're doing the same thing. We're going to go into Austin and we're going to start from scratch and grow slow. Again, SEO is king. If we can just build up a slice of SEO and get enough leads a month to make it viable, we can do it. We're doing it all organically from the ground up, no investor money, no partners. We're just investing in it as we go to grow it up slowly. And so I think, in case you don't know, the San Antonio region and the Austin region are starting to grow into each other. So we're starting to call it the San Austin region. And there's plenty of room for all property managers out there. So all the existing PMs in Austin, I'm not going to be stealing your business because there's plenty of it to go around. And I'm just excited to be able to expand into another market to assist the growth of this company. All right, so in signing out, this has been the first monologue I've ever done, other than the intro, which doesn't really count. But I'm hoping I've given enough red meat to make it an interesting episode. And I appreciate you listening to the show. That's all from here. Take care.
This has been a podcast episode by PropertyManagementProductions.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave us feedback, and come back for our next episode.